Okay, hello and welcome to the Quasi-Gaming podcast. I'm Daniel.
I'm Dillon.
And I'm RJ.
And today we're gonna talk about whatever the hell we want, really. So for anyone listening, watching, we're a bunch of nobodies who play games and do other shit in the nerd culture.
That is very accurate.
Yeah, it's a very accurate description of us.
Yeah, so I guess what we'll start with is Dillon, you're the guest. So what have you been playing this week?
This week, I've mostly been playing League of Legends because it's the new season started and I've been getting into the ranked and stuff. But other than that, I've been playing this game called The Long Dark.
Oh man, I've heard of The Long Dark. I was interested in it.
Yeah, definitely heard good things about it.
It's really neat. Like, it's still in beta, so there's like not all the stuff has been implemented in yet. But you're this guy or woman, you can be a girl if you want to, and you've crash landed in this sort of post-apocalyptic Canada. But not apocalyptic like bombs or whatever. It's just like this major storm has come through and everything's covered in snow. And you have a health meter and you got your cold meter and your food meter and your water meter. And you just survive. There's no story mode. Yeah, there's only the survival mode. But it's really interesting just trying to run around and get all the stuff you want to get and just trying to not die to wolves and other things.
Yeah, I hear the wolves are a really big problem in that. So, speaking on The Long Dark, I've seen some gameplay of it. How does it handle?
Oh, it handles fine. I've not had any, story. It's not clunky. It's all really super smooth. I haven't had any I have no complaints, as far as controls or, anything like that.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's cool. I really hope that game does well because, I could never really get into the DayZ sort of survival game. It felt like just nothing ever happened and that sort of, But
yeah, this is definitely different because you don't have other people trying to kill you.
Exactly, yeah. That's a big difference, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's available on Steam for I got it for $2 or $3, but it might have been on sale, so I'm not sure.
Right. Cool. So, RJ, what have you been playing?
Well, other than League of Legends, because that makes a lot of my gaming time, I've been playing back through Dark Souls 1 a lot lately.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It's just such an incredible experience every time I play, it's...
Yeah.
Even when I use the same build, I won't quite play the game the same way, and that just makes for such a high replay value for me. And
yeah, there's that, and then there's the insane variety of builds that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I still haven't done every build that I could, and I've been playing this game for almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the difficulty's always there. It's been a while since I played, so the past 2 weeks have been a struggle again.
Right.
Even expecting everything and knowing what's coming, it's just my noob hands.
Yeah.
Just my muscle memory is just confused now. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically it, man. And what about you, man? What have you been playing this week?
Well, I've been playing Final Fantasy Tactics a little bit for my Let's Play. I guess I'll go ahead and plug myself. Anyone listening, I have a YouTube channel. It's called the... oh man, I can't remember my own channel name. It's a very new...
Just Another Gaming channel.
Yeah, yet another gaming channel. And it's so far I've only got about 5 videos of my Final Fantasy Tactics Let's Play. On the horizon will be a blind play of the Saga Frontier. But anyway...
Nice.
With all of my plugging out of the way, yeah, I've been playing some Final Fantasy Tactics for the Let's Play. I've been playing a little bit of Final Fantasy IX as well. I used a Game Shark to cheat in Beatrix from the start, and I'm just running through the game with her. Which anyone who doesn't play Final Fantasy IX, I should clarify that Beatrix is she's like a special character that you don't actually get to play as except for 2 story fights in the game. So it's interesting.
She's also a reoccurring boss.
Yeah, that too. She is a reoccurring boss. Yeah, it was fun to actually kick Beatrix's ass with Beatrix.
Yeah, when you fight her, do you have a chance to beat her when you use Beatrix, or
no? It's still
just, okay. Yeah, she still wrecks you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of your channel, Daniel.
Yeah.
Whenever I get Dark Souls, if you want, you can upload my blind play onto your channel if you want to.
Oh, nice. If you're going to be recording your blind play of Dark Souls, then hell yeah.
I'll do it for
Absolutely.
sure. I'm definitely going to record it. There's no doubt about that.
Dude, I want to be like in Skype with you when you do it because I just absolutely love watching.
You should just be here.
Yeah, I should just come over. Yeah, 'cause
Nice. That's awesome. Because I mean, there's never enough blind Let's Plays of Dark Souls.
yeah, I mean, every person in the world should play through the entire game one time in their life and let me watch it.
Yeah.
Because I will waste the rest of my life doing it.
Yeah, and I guess the last game that I have been playing recently is a game called Reciteer. Have either of you heard of that?
No.
No, never heard of it.
Okay, well, essentially what it is you're playing as an item shopkeeper in an RPG. So you're not the hero of the RPG. You find shit to sell in your shop, and then like adventurers will come in and like try to sell you all of their inventory because that's a traditional RPG thing.
Yeah,
And,
that's very cool.
yeah, and then there's also like you can hire an adventurer to go and clear a dungeon and bring back shit for you to sell and stuff.
Nice.
And then by doing that, you control the adventurer then, and then you like have some combat and stuff. It's it's fun. There's a lot of dynamic to that game.
It's like, this is like the Spice and Wolf of video games.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. Like you're at school with your friends, and like, yeah, I beat this boss last night. And you're like, yeah, I sold some shit to a guy.
Yeah.
And haggled to buy some shit.
Yeah. But yeah, it's fun. It's a really novelty like game. It's really like there's nothing else out there that's similar in my opinion that I've played at least.
It's very unique.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's cool. I recommend that anyone who's interested in something that's not mostly like gameplay mechanics driven to check that out.
Right on.
Yeah.
How is the combat in that game when you get into it? Is it hack and slash or is it?
Yeah, it's a hack and slash sort of thing. It's really simple, but it feels like it has the things that make combat like feel really visceral in the way that it has like micro slowdowns in time during like appropriate combat instances,
Right.
But there's not a lot of depth to the combat because that's not what the game is really focused on.
Yeah, it's not focused.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool though. It sounds very cool.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I've been playing this week. I've been like the majority of it's been Final Fantasy IX though. I mean, I can play that game all day.
Always a good game to go back there.
Yeah.
Always, yeah.
But that's about all I have to say on that. So
Yeah, same. Yeah, that's really all I've been doing this past week as far as gaming goes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So are you guys looking forward to anything? Upcoming games and such?
I am looking forward to Star Wars Battlefront 3.
Oh wow, I didn't know that was coming out. Jeez.
Yeah, it's just set to release sometime this year. Like the release date hasn't, like there's no date or month.
Right.
But I imagine it's going to come out around the same time the movie does.
So it'll be like December.
Yeah.
Of this year.
But like all I've played, I've played more about Star Wars Battlefront 2 than any other game, including League of Legends, and I've just been waiting my entire life for this game, and I just cannot wait for it to come out.
Yeah, I didn't know that you played a lot of that game. I mean, I played a good bit of Star Wars Battlefront 2 as well.
I was playing more Coder than Battlefront 2.
Yeah, I mean I didn't play that one, but it sounded like a kind of game that I would like a lot.
Yeah, I always loved it. Battlefront 2, I definitely played a lot. I suck so much at shooting games.
Yeah.
So, like, when I'd be playing with friends, they would be shooting and killing people, and then when one of them got the Jedi, they'd hand me the controller, and I would go ham. And that was always my favorite experience. I could be a Jedi, whatever.
Yeah, what I loved about that game so much was the galactic battle mode, where the story was okay, but the galactic battle where you just you had the whole galaxy of planets, and your goal was to take over the galaxy before your other friend or whatever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And if your ships ran into each other, you had this crazy Star Wars dogfight with your ships. It was crazy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Galactic Conquest.
Yeah, Galactic Conquest. That's it.
Yeah. I actually played that recently with that Sean guy.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. I think that's his name. The dude who gave me the chicken. Which anybody listening to this podcast?
Oh, Tristan!
Oh my god! The guy who can't even
Let's not talk about Tristan on this podcast.
Okay, well, but yeah, I realized by playing that game kind of recently that I suck at that game. It was fun, but I'm
always really bad at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, I'm looking forward to playing Evolve too. I got the alpha of that game, and it was really fun. It comes out next month in February. Have you guys heard about that?
Alpha, yeah. Evolve, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar with it.
It's a competitive game, and it's a team game, but instead of it being like 5v5 like League of Legends, it's 5v1.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's 5 hunters versus this giant monster thing.
Yeah.
And the hunters have different classes. There's the assault, the medic, the trapper, and the support. And they're very, very well balanced. Like, if one person on your team doesn't know what they're doing, the monster's just going to destroy you.
Wow, that's interesting.
Everybody has to be, like, on point. It's really, really good. Like, you have to... The monster evolves. He has, like, 3 different stages. Like, he has to, like, sneak around the map and, like, eat wildlife. And when he does that, he gets bigger and bigger and gets more abilities. So you really, the goal is, as the trappers, is to try and catch the monster when he's in the first or second stage.
Right.
Because if he's in the third stage, he's probably going to kill you.
That makes sense. Yeah.
The monster's player controller.
Yeah, the monster's player controller. Yeah, it's all player controller.
Is there one? It was just alpha, right? That you played, or
yeah.
That you played. I wonder if when the game actually releases, if there will be like 5 friends can take on like a AI monster, or if you can have like AI.
There'll probably be a story mode.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's different monsters, and each class has 2 different playable characters that are completely different. It's not like just different skins. Like, they have completely different abilities and completely different play styles.
Nice. That's cool.
But yeah. Other than that, what about you, RJ?
Man, I was just so down and ready for Bloodborne. Like, it has been eating at me, and I didn't realize the other day that it is only on PlayStation, and I'm an Xbox gamer, and I was just crushed.
Well, I maintain that they would be absolutely foolish not to release a PC port of that game.
Yeah, and, that's keeping me going.
Yeah.
Okay. Bloodborne just, like, it's reminiscent of the Soul series, which, I'm clearly a fan of.
Right.
But it's like the Victorian era. That's like it's like super gothic, and it's a very dark world and stuff. And I watched a lot of alpha play on it, and it just looks incredible, And I like the no shield system in this game.
Me too.
A lot, It makes for a very interesting combat mechanic to me.
Yeah.
And they have this new mechanic called the recovery system.
Okay.
And whenever you get hit and take damage, your life bar goes down, but there's like a red, discolored bar where your health used to be. And if you attack an enemy within a certain amount of time, you can actually recover portions of the health you would have lost.
Oh, yeah, so it gives you incentive to be aggressive.
Exactly, yeah, but, being aggressive in that game can get you killed.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, fast, so it's like, it adds, like, this weird, like, extra strategy to it, extra, like, mechanic to the combat of, okay, I got hit, do I go in or do I not? Because, like, this dude is clearly wrecking me right now.
Right.
So,
I think that's...
What's up?
I was going to say, I think that's a really good design decision for FromSoft, because, like, and the same goes for getting rid of the shield, because that's another thing that makes for a more aggressive playstyle.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. There's no turtling when you don't have a shield.
Exactly, and a lot of people's first experiences with the Soul series is, oh, I'm supposed to hide behind a shield until I find an opening and attack.
Yeah.
And you will be successful in the Soul series if you do that, like, enough. You will eventually be successful.
Yeah.
And I think
so you potentially get to Gwen.
Yeah.
Turtling doesn't really work on Gwen.
Yeah. But so I think that's good that they're like, what's the word I'm looking for? They're trying to provoke players to be more aggressive and have a different play style, even people new to the series.
Yeah, exactly. And like even the dodge system kind of reflects that because instead of rolling,
Yeah.
it's just like you dash in a direction, so
Yeah.
you can use it to, as a gap closer and stuff, and also use it to kind of combo to enemies and everything. And the weapon system being what it is, you either have your left-handed weapon is either like a blunderbuss or just like a pistol, and your right-handed weapon is usually some type of blade.
Right.
And then you can switch into this additional weapon, and you can bind your gun and your bladed weapon to have like a large range weapon that's usually a little bit slower and has a different move set. And it's just like the gameplay, like the combat variants in it, or like the variations on combat is just really well done, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be super interesting to play.
Yes, I'm definitely also anticipating it.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, man? What are games coming up are you looking at?
Well, I'm very interested in Act 2 of the indie game Broken Age. That was, I believe, kickstarted back last year. Right now it's projected, I believe, to be out in the first quarter of this year. So that's exciting. And for anyone who doesn't know, Broken Age is a point-and-click game that, like, it was asking for a very small amount of money and ended up getting something close to, like, 1,000% of what it asked for.
Wow.
And, yeah, so there was a little bit of controversy, actually, that surrounded that, because they ended up having, like, Elijah Wood and Jennifer Hale and all of these other, like, famous voice actors and stuff.
Right.
And then they were worried about running out of money. So, like, they asked, like, they were given way more than they asked for, and then they almost ran out of money still because of making these decisions. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. There's a little bit of controversy surrounding that. But either way, the end product was amazing, and I'm really looking forward to the second act. Like, because, point and clicks are extremely story-driven, and I love a good story in a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And similarly, the other game that I would like to mention I'm looking forward to is the Banner Saga 2, which is also supposed to be out sometime this year. And Banner Saga was created by Stoic Studios, who was like a small team who departed from, I believe, BioWare, and created that game. And so now it's like a small indie development crew of really skilled developers. And it really shows in their final product. Like, the artwork in the first Banner Saga was amazing. It really felt like, the Viking culture, and it was really good. Yeah.
Right on. And what did you say was the name of this little company or little team?
Stoic Studios.
Stoic Studios?
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely got to check them out.
Yeah.
I've heard about Banner Saga before, but I've never really checked it out or anything. But I've also heard you talk about it as well, and
yeah,
you always seemed really enthusiastic about it. So
yeah, I mean, given there are issues with it, but overall it was a great game. The story was very enticing, so I'm definitely looking forward to the Banner Saga 2. I'm hoping they've improved on a couple things, but if not, if they just give me a carbon copy of Banner Saga 1 with a different story, I'll be happy.
I mean, that's kind of what I wanted out of Dark Souls 2.
Yeah.
That would have been great, guys.
Yeah.
But thank you, FromSoft, for ruining my favorite franchise of the decade.
Well, I still maintain that I don't think that Dark Souls 2 is a bad game. I just didn't like it. I didn't like the design decisions they went with.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, when you take a game like Dark Souls 1 and it was just, everything about that game intrigued me.
Yeah.
Nothing in Dark Souls 2 intrigued me at all. After I got into it, and I was just like, I started to realize I just don't care about anything I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
It was like an entire video game was a grind session almost. It was just, oh man, I was so disappointed with it.
Well, I actually share that sentiment also because, like, and I've said this before, but in Dark Souls 1, whenever I was playing through it, I always, like, even when I died and got frustrated and all of that, I still had the want to proceed. Like,
Yeah.
Like, the game still made me want to play it. And I'm not sure exactly how it accomplished that in the ways that it did, and Dark Souls 2 did not. Like, I don't know where the missing element was, but it wasn't there for me. I didn't enjoy Dark Souls 2. It didn't make me want to keep playing it.
Yeah, I know. It's...
Well, I haven't played Dark Souls 2 yet, but with 1, the little bit of 1 I have played, what makes me want to keep going is that it's like, it's so close to impossible, but you can see the possible.
Yeah.
It makes you want to find, how is this possible? Like, what do you have to do to be able to get through this? Like, that's what drives it for me.
Yeah, and that's something I still love about Dark Souls 1 is the sense of reward.
It's such a good reward. Because you get to an area and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, how in the world do people do this?
Dark Souls 2, when I killed this boss, I was like, oh, okay, let's continue down this path.
So maybe Dark Souls 2 just isn't, maybe it's not hard enough. Maybe there's not as much to figure out.
It's definitely not hard enough.
Okay,
I will definitely agree with that.
We figured it out.
Yeah.
Well,
Take notes.
I don't know if that's the reason, but they certainly, like, I think FromSoft even said themselves that they were going to make a game more aimed at not your super hardcore gamer like Dark Souls 1 was and stuff.
Well, yeah, out of context, that is kind of what they said, but what really they were saying was, like, we want to make the entry level wider. They wanted to be able to have more people be able to get into Dark Souls. Like, because in Dark Souls 1, the beginning was brutally difficult, it felt like.
It's consistently the hardest part of that game to me.
Yeah, and what I took from that interview was that they wanted that to not be the case. That way people could ease into the difficulty of the game.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a good decision, because all that is going to do, probably from a company standpoint, is...
increase your marketing.
Exactly. That's going to, like...
sales.
Yeah, it's going to get people who never would have thought that they could play that game. Like, some people start Dark Souls and are like, this is not for me, because it's way too hard. But if you get into the curve a little bit, like, it starts out a little softer, then those kind of people may get accustomed to the game, and then get into the more difficult parts and not have that knee-jerk reaction of, I can't do this, so I'm not going to play this.
Yeah. Although I don't think they ever, me as a Dark Souls 1 player, I don't think they ever amped it up enough throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah, but it also could be because that it is like the second game that you've played of the Souls series. Like, maybe now you're not going to get the genuine difficulty that you had with Dark Souls 1 because you've learned the Souls series pretty well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't know, like, from Demon Souls to Dark Souls, I don't know how that goes. You remember Jared?
Yeah.
He played Demon Souls a lot before Dark Souls 1 came out. And when Dark Souls 1 came out, that game kicked his ass.
Right.
And so that's kind of was like, maybe that's going to be similar with Dark Souls 2, because it's a completely new environment, Like, I played Dark Souls 1 for a pretty long time. When I went to the DLC, Artorias just kicked the shit at me.
Yeah.
Pretty consistently.
Yeah.
And Manus is a really tough fight.
Right.
Even as much Dark Souls 1 as I had played up to that point, just something new was super hard.
Yeah.
And so, like, Dark Souls 2, I was kind of expecting the same thing, I was like, I don't know what's going on here, so I'm, expecting to get my shit kicked in, and I didn't.
Yeah. I think...
Just a little disappointed.
Yeah. I think that, like, with the DLC of Dark Souls 1, though, there was a consistent trait in every boss that was different from most other bosses of Dark Souls 1, and it was the amount of recovery time that they give you. Like, they're all way more on top of you, and that's...
Yeah, absolutely relentless. I mean, it's kind of like fighting Gwen again.
Yeah. And
so I feel like Artorias is even more relentless than Gwen was.
Yeah, but I think that's what, like, that's why it still seems so difficult, because they took a different design, like, I guess, philosophy when creating those bosses, you know?
Yeah. It was awesome for the DLC. I think it fit really well. Because at this point, Artorias is consumed by the Abyss, and he's just insane. And Manus is the father of insanity, pretty much. So they're both just insane and attacking you like crazy and stuff. And I think that's a really big element missing from Dark Souls 2. There's not a single boss in that game other than one that is relentless.
Yeah.
And that's very depressing. Because I mean, you look at like Smo and Ornstein. That's just a dick fight.
Well, yeah.
And even oh man, why am I drawing a blank on the name now? God, man.
The Four Kings?
Yes, there we go. Boom.
Yeah.
It's an insane fight, and it's like the elements in Dark Souls 1, that's what I like about what they did with Dark Souls 1 bosses, is they didn't have to be super relentless to be really difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Priscilla. The first time I fought Priscilla, she two-shotted me.
Yeah.
She had half that bleed, and I was like, oh man.
Not ready for that bleed, yeah.
Because she wrecked me. And, it's just like, the mechanic needed for each boss fight throughout Dark Souls was always really different, and it always took some time to figure out. You couldn't just go into a boss fight and just expect to kick ass. It just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Dark Souls 2, like, I think it was always like the bosses were just slow.
Yeah. I kind of, like, with my experience of Dark Souls 2, and anyone listening, I have limited experience with Dark Souls 2. I've played maybe 10 to 15 hours or something like that, I would estimate.
Right.
And, I played... I probably didn't even fight half of the bosses, but the bosses I did fight, not a single one I felt was really... Like, they all felt... Like, almost all of them were just slow, and you could just get behind them, just side strafe and win. I mean, I don't know if that's the case for the rest of the bosses, but that's how I felt about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's one, I don't know if did you ever fight the old Iron King?
No, I've seen the fight, though.
God, that fight is depressing, dude. He is just, I mean, like, me and Jared, like, we were playing one day, and I was fighting the old Iron King, and we would literally stand there and wait for him to attack, and then right before he hit us, literally walk out of the way.
Wow.
And the old Iron King was kind of like, in the videos and stuff I saw, it was like this, he's this huge demon thing coming out of lava, and you're supposed to be very scared, and then it was just like, well, this is just the most boring thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I would say there's actually, now that I think about it, there's two bosses that I think were pretty challenging for the Dark Souls 2 games, and that was the Lost Sinner.
Okay.
And, what was it? It was like a boss right before the old Iron King. It was, the Forge Demon or something like that.
Uh-huh, yeah.
He was a pretty tough fight. It was an interesting fight more than anything, because he actually had, like, he would stab himself with his sword and, like, consume himself in fire and start to do more damage.
Oh, okay.
And he did that, like, a few different times out of the game, throughout the fight and stuff. And, he was pretty interesting to fight. To me, he was the hardest boss in that area. By far. And he was, like, a mini boss before the old Iron King fight.
Yeah.
So, but, the Lost Sinner, that one was always kind of difficult, because, like, when the first character I used, it was ranged.
Right.
I was a spellcaster, and, when you go in there, the Lost Sinner screams, and all the, like, lanterns go out, so you have to get really close to him to lock on.
Uh-huh.
And he's, like, got this big sword thing, or she, I'm actually not quite sure, it just goes on your face. So, that was always pretty interesting to me. But what do we got up next, man? I think we've talked about Dark Souls enough.
Yeah. Well, I think we
kind of happen on every podcast. You guys are gonna have like a 10-minute Dark Souls. You might as well make that a segment, Daniel.
Yeah, Dark Souls segment.
I mean, we could.
Yeah, we could. That is true.
We could probably do a Dark Souls podcast.
Yeah. Well, as far as that whole thing we just went into, it sounds like the games we disliked segment. because you were talking about Dark Souls 2. I don't know if that's the game you had picked, but it kind of fits in.
It certainly can be.
Yeah. Well, speaking of games we disliked, I was not such a fan of Final Fantasy X-2. Big shocker there for all you Square Enix lovers out there, I know. My problem is, of course, that, they ruined a lot of the pre-existing lore of the Final Fantasy X stuff, like they took characters that existed and made them completely uncharacteristic of their original personalities. And that's my main issue. Like, it doesn't even matter that the story was god awful. It was mostly that, like, if you've already got something, you shouldn't alter you just shouldn't alter pre-existing lore of a universe that people love.
Yeah, I mean, especially, like, it's the first direct Final Fantasy sequel we've ever had, and you somehow just decided to change the universe you had created with that game.
Yeah.
And it was shocking to me to go from Final Fantasy X's gloriousness to Final Fantasy X-2,
And if you look at, like, the storytelling style of Final Fantasy X versus the storytelling style of Final Fantasy X-2, like, what happened?
Yeah.
I just don't understand how they went so wrong.
I wish I could answer that question.
But all of that being said, I will say the gameplay mechanics themselves and the job class changing mid-battle was interesting.
Just having the different jobs, I think, was pretty cool.
Having the different jobs was reminiscent of, like, Final Fantasy V, where you take a character and just make them whatever job you wanted, essentially. So that was nice. But yeah, the way they implemented it, bless you, the way they implemented it was, like, what is this dressing, like, it became a dress-up game.
Yeah.
And that was, like, it made me embarrassed to play that game. Like, that's how bad it was.
Dude, the opening cutscene, Yuna is performing, like, a pop song at a concert.
Oh, God.
And I'm just like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not a good way to start out, man.
Did you guys, like, read any reviews? Because I've never played 2, but I'm sure you guys played it, like, the day it came out.
No.
No?
I played it the day it came out. I'm pretty sure.
Had you, like, read any reviews or anything? Like, were you prepared for it to be bad?
No, I mean, because I was a kid back then when it came out, and I didn't do proper consumer research before buying products, And I was really, really appalled. It was like, what they did was like, all right, well, let's take every female from this game and let's just slut them up. Let's make them as slutty as possible and just sell it, Let's just make that money. We don't care about what we're doing to, like, as far as making a good game. We just want to make that money.
Yeah.
That's all that game said to me.
For me, dude, I was older, because I didn't get to Final Fantasy until a little later. I played 10 was the first one I played.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, oh man, I didn't know anything about the Final Fantasy franchise, so I went up to GameStop and was like, hey man, you guys have the sequel to this one, because, this one was amazing. And they were like, it doesn't really have a sequel, except for 10-2. It was like the first Final Fantasy game to have a sequel. Final Fantasy 10 has 10-2, and I was like, oh man, let me buy that. And I gave this man money.
Yeah.
I physically reached into my pants and pulled out money and gave it to him, and he gave me that in return.
Yeah.
And
he might as well just shit in your hand.
Yes. But what's even worse is I then saw Final Fantasy 12.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, let me get that too. So once again, I reached into my pants and I gave this man money, and he shat in my hand again.
Well, I will still defend 12 some.
I mean, there are certain aspects of 12 I did enjoy.
Yeah.
Overall, I did not like the game.
I had a similar experience with that, because the first one I ever played was 4. I played the Game Boy Portal of 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was, at the time, was one of the best games I'd ever played. It was definitely the hardest game I'd ever played. It had a great story. I was like, this game's awesome.
Yeah.
So the next time a Final Fantasy game came out on the PS3, I was like, I'm going to get it. and it was like the one with lightning. I don't know, was it 13?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I played a good 4 hours of this game.
Yeah.
And throughout those 4 hours, I played the same character. There was no like this guy attacks and then this and then you choose the attack for the next guy. It was just pressing X, attack. Like there was no like you didn't have to manage what your other characters were doing. All the other characters were controlled by AI and there was no way to change that in the settings. You played one character.
Wow.
And I'm sure later in the game, it has to get more diverse later in the game, but I was not willing to get to that point.
I don't think it has to.
Well, do you know which, because I know this may come as a shock to you, but there are multiple games with Lightning as the main character.
It was the first one.
It was 13.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, that one is, I don't know, that one is really, really critically hated on, because it is, like, and it's not even for any of the reasons you've mentioned. It's because it's extremely linear. Like, and, people might ask, well, non-linearity was never, like, a strength of the Final Fantasy series to begin with. Well, that is true. I will say that. But there's at least, like, a semblance of side quests in every other Final Fantasy. Like, there's optional content that you can do. But for Final Fantasy 13, like, there's not even towns you go to look around. Like, you literally...
Yeah, there's not. I never got to an open world. Like, I don't know if there is an open world in that game, but I didn't make it there.
But it's like you literally, throughout the whole game, hold up until you get into a fight where you just press X.
That's what happened. That should be the whole review of that game. Press up and X. Those are the two buttons. Like, you can have a completely busted controller. As long as those two buttons work, you can probably beat that game.
Yeah. It's not... I mean, now, I don't know anything... I can't say on the story. I mean, I didn't like the characters very much, but... so for anyone who likes Final Fantasy 13, if you like it because of the story, that's great. I don't know the story.
One listener likes it because of the story. Yeah, sorry, guy.
Just ruined our chance.
Yeah. But, as for everything else about that game, I can say that I did not like very much. Even the score was not good.
Yeah, I mean, comparing it to, the Final Fantasy games of old, which have always had amazing music in them.
And the thing is, I think that Nobu Uematsu still worked on 13. I mean,
it doesn't surprise a lot of people from Squaresoft went over with Square Enix.
Yeah, but Uematsu doesn't work on every release that of the Final Fantasy series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I know he's on all the ones I continue to play.
Yeah, he's on all of the Squaresoft and Square ones.
Yeah. I guess he just can't handle Square Enix's bullshit consistently.
I don't know. It's hard to say. But, Sakaguchi, I think that he's no longer with Square Enix. I think that was, like, at the, I think it was, like, after the first 13. Now, don't quote me on this, because I am not citing any sources right now. But I'm pretty certain that he has left. I know that he has his own other game studio thing now. Like, they're, like, whatever developers created Blue Dragon, that old RPG that came out, like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He worked on that one, so, anyone who's looking for the old school style Final Fantasies should probably try to check that game out. I haven't played it myself, but...
Yeah. Well, Sakaguchi, he was he director, or...?
I think so. Like, I think he was pretty much, like, the creative mastermind of Final Fantasy. Like, he's...
That's because I want to say, Final Fantasy 9, at least. I didn't... don't quote me because my memory is not the best in the world, but I'm pretty sure it was, like, written by him. Final Fantasy 9 was.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, like, as far as story writers go. I don't know, but I know that he is, like, the CEO who drove the Final Fantasy series into what it was, Yeah, and eventually to what it is, I guess, but...
Yeah, I know he's definitely part of Final Fantasy 9.
Yeah.
Because, that opening little cutscene there when it's going through, like, Garnet's, like, waking up and stuff, and it's showing all the names.
Right.
And I always remember Sakaguchi because he's also on the opening where Seven plays all their names. He's also on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I guess this is actually a good transition. Actually, Dylan, I don't think we've heard from you what game that you have played and disliked quite a bit.
Well, most recently, the game I played that I disliked, I came home from vacation and the Steam winter sale was going on,
Mm-hmm.
and I had like $30 to blow,
Right.
and all the games are like $2 or $3, and I bought this game called Thief, and it came out last year.
Yeah.
And it looked pretty cool because it's like a stealth game, and you're this thief in like the Victorian age, and you just go around and steal things and sneak around and avoid combat.
Right.
And because I love stealth games. I love Splinter Cell, and I love like Metal Gear Solid, like anything where I can just sneak, and Deus Ex, like anything where I can sneak around and not have to fight people, I'll play it.
Right.
But it was just so painstakingly repetitive. Like it got so old so fast.
It always looked like a Dishonored clone to me.
It looked a lot like Dishonored.
And Dishonored is also just horribly repetitive.
And if you unfortunately did get into combat, the combat system was just god awful. I mean, it was so bad.
Yeah.
And like you had like a bow and arrow, and you could get different arrows, like fire arrows and water arrows, and you could like use the water arrows to extinguish torches, so you could sneak by. But they didn't work on like every kind of torch, which was really dumb. Like they didn't.
Like there's like different tiers of torches.
Well, there was like just the regular torches in the wall, but then there were also some torches that had like a metal cage around them.
Oh, like almost like a wall sconce kind of thing.
Yeah, but if I have an arrow with a water bag on it, the water's going to go through the metal cage.
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't feel like they were as diverse with the different, like, kind of types of equipment they would give you. They weren't very diverse in the different things you could do. You could do one or two things with each type of thing instead of being able to, like, be imaginative and like try different things. That they didn't allow that to happen. It was very linear. It was open world, but it's the most linear open world game I've ever played.
Wow, that's really a shame, man. And that also got some pretty negative reviews, and once again, not for the reasons you've listed. One of the main things was that Thief was based on an original game that came out a long time ago called Thief. It's like a rework of that, and the big complaint with it was that they got rid of all of the good things about that game and then subbed in all of this exact Dishonored content, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean,
I never made that connection until you said it, but it looks and feels like Dishonored.
The second I saw Thief, I was like, that's a Dishonored clone if I've ever seen one.
That's what the reviews said too, that I read. So.
Yeah, I mean, it totally makes it, because, I was really hyped up for Dishonored when it was coming out, and I'd seen a lot of gameplay, and, the abilities mixed with your stealth and stuff, it was really interesting gameplay.
Mm-hmm. I
did not, of course, during the alpha or beta that I watched, because they don't have a whole lot of gameplay to go through, I did not realize that it was just, here's what you have to do in this one city that you are allowed to explore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go do this over and over and over again. And I was like, okay, guys, I'm fucking done.
Right, yeah.
So when I saw Thief, I was like, I don't care if it's open world, guys. It's going to be Dishonored.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it's going to be, except I don't know if you have magical powers in Thief.
No, I didn't play that much of it. See, I'm always real good about, looking up reviews of games before I purchase one.
Right.
Unless it's, less than $5 and it looks fun.
Yeah.
Then I might just, impulsively buy it, which I usually regret.
Yeah.
Except for with The Long Dark and with Alan Wake. I bought Alan Wake for $2 in that same winter sale, and that game is absolutely amazing.
Nice.
Anybody who likes Stephen King, I highly recommend that game, because it is like playing a Stephen King book.
Nice.
That's cool. Yeah. I saw that game when it was coming out, and I was skeptical, but that's not really my genre of game anymore. So.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Wake, it kind of looked like just like a newer, shinier Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
It's a lot different than Resident Evil.
Silent Hill game.
I've never played Silent Hill.
I mean, it's, gun, flashlight, scary stuff, and puzzles.
Yeah, I've never played a lot of scary games, and I'm sure that, on, the scale, Alan Wake isn't that scary, compared to,
Silent Hill?
What's the game that scares the shit out of you? Not Silent Hill.
Amnesia, the Dark Descent?
I'm sure it's not compared to Amnesia, but it's
Why you gotta bring up my fears and stuff,
it's
man?
terrifying. Like, it
That
scares the
game
shit.
is
The soundtrack is terrifying. That's what scares me.
Oh yeah.
And like the lack of ammunition. You always never ever ever have enough ammunition, and it's really scary.
It's very, very Silent Hill. Silent Hill is a sketchy franchise of video games, man.
See, but like, alright, so I loved Resident Evil 4, and I played enough of 2 to respect it. I didn't play it early enough, and I played it on emulator, so it was really, really hard to control.
Right.
But I didn't play those games for the scares. I played those games for like the scrounging for ammunition.
Yeah,
you are a scavenger.
Yeah, and it's because I never had enough. Like, that was such a good feeling that you don't get in a lot of games anymore, you know?
Yeah, I played Resident Evil 2 before I played Resident Evil 4, and it still holds as my favorite of the franchise.
Right.
A big part of it is because you never feel comfortable with the amount of ammunition you have.
Right.
Yeah, and when you're out, you're done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like Halo or Call of Duty. Like, when you're out of ammo in those games, you can just run around and punch shit.
Yeah.
I mean, and still stay alive, but you can't do that.
You can do that in 4 if there's one enemy left. If you have, like, no ammo, you can knife that guy.
Yeah.
Or if you have, like, I don't know, I don't remember 4 well enough to say if there's, like, grenades or anything in it.
Yeah.
I just bought it the other day. I haven't started playing it.
Oh, yeah.
Have you never played Resident Evil 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, as in you've never played it?
I've played, like, the first hour, but I've never played the whole game.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I just bought it the other day. I'm probably going to go to Christian's house and play it as soon as we're done with this, actually.
God, the Frankenfish, dude.
I remember the Frankenfish. Chris Holloway showed me that.
That thing is, like, one of the sketchiest moments in video game history for me.
Yeah.
I straight turned off my console. I had to go just relax for like an hour and a half. Oh, like Amnesia is still probably the scariest game I've ever played. Resident Evil 4 definitely had its moments.
I still got to play Dead Space too. I like Dead Space. I played the first one. I liked it a lot, but I haven't played the second one yet.
Yeah, the second one's really good. The third one kind of a letdown, but still overall a really good game.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Well, we didn't go over the games we are not looking forward to, and what I mean by that is like upcoming releases or things that have recently released. Games such as Final Fantasy 15. So, I read a review on it, and the review described it as Bromance Road Trip Simulator 2015.
Yeah.
And and then I looked at the trailer, and I was like, they're right.
It's like the most accurate review of all time.
Yeah, yeah. I think if anyone's looking for that article, I think it was on Rock Paper Shotgun.
I don't understand how Final Fantasy games have continued to get more and more homosexual.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I would say that they're more homosexual. I mean, because I don't think that that's something that's really quantifiable.
I mean, it's just like their male characters they've always been kind of strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
do you mean like the attire, or
what's up?
Do you mean like what they're wearing and stuff?
Yeah, and like the way sometimes they're very flamboyant.
Titus is kind of gay sometimes.
Yeah. Oh no, you look at Kuja.
Yeah, like if you're talking like just they seem very feminine. Well, that's like a thing with like androgyny is a big thing in like the
Japan as a
Japanese
whole.
media culture for some reason, and you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It just seems like it seems to have gotten more prevalent in the most recent Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, I don't think that it's right to assume that an androgynous character is necessarily homosexual, though.
Yeah, it's certainly not. I couldn't think of the androgynous term.
Right. Yeah.
At the time, and yeah, because I definitely don't want to. You know, I now cannot think of this term because that's my life.
Yeah. You don't want to like project.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the wrong sentiment. Yeah.
Just like the only term I come up with at the time that was relatively close to what I was thinking, but I think part of it is also like the really amazing graphics we have today.
Yeah.
I can actually appreciate the androgyny really well.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of hard to tell with like Kefka and Kuja and stuff. You know, well, not really Kuja. Kuja was pretty androgynous.
Yeah, like I don't understand like I don't understand the decision to make them, like, even if a guy is androgynous, why do you have to have him so scantily clad? And I say the same for women as well. Like, why do you have to have them so scantily clad? It doesn't make sense. It makes sense from a sales standpoint, because, you know.
Do you guys remember that fighter? I think it was on the PS2, there was a couple different sequels. It was a fighter, but it was like just scantily clad women.
Dead or Alive?
What was it?
I think it was Dead or Alive that you're.
Dead or Alive.
Dead or Alive,
It was Dead or Alive, yeah.
For some reason I'm saying virtual
That's a very good example of what we're talking about.
Yeah. And I don't know, man. But I mean, it's true. Like, if you look at, like, back to the Final Fantasy 15 thing, if you look at, like, the main character that you play as, when I first saw him, I thought he was female.
Yeah.
But I thought that he was a well-covered female, which was nice. That was something that they were doing right, until I was like, wait a minute, that's a guy. But I mean, you know, I don't know. It's really weird. I also think it is weird that, like, for Final Fantasy 15, what we've seen in this trailer so far is 4 dudes in a really nice car being like, we can't stop, we have to stay on the road. And then they, like, drive around to this town, and they, like, meet this mechanic named Sydney or Cindy or something like that, who is supposed to be, like, the Sid incarnate of...
I was just about to ask if that was supposed to be Sid.
Yeah, but it's this, like, weirdly young-looking female with really large tits who is very scantily clad. And I'm just like, what is happening right now? Like, I hate it. I hate it so much.
I wish you could see RJ's face of discontent right now.
Yeah.
Man, like, Sid is one of my favorite characters in Final Fantasy. Like, he's always good to me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Final Fantasy 9, that mustache, dude. And he was, like, a creature for half of the game.
Yeah.
You know, he was an oglop or a frog.
Yeah.
You know, it was insane. And, like, Final Fantasy 10, he was great. I love Sid in 10.
Yeah.
He was awesome. And in 8, he was, like, the headmaster of the school.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He was cool there.
He was cool in 4. He was like a...
Yeah. He was the airship guy.
Yeah, the airship mechanic.
Which he's that in almost everything.
Yeah, like, I was going to say, Sid is always, like, the mechanic, you know? So I think it's nice that they still kept Sid as a mechanic, but why did you have to chop off his genitals and replace them with other genitals?
Right?
Like, it's so strange. But, I mean, I understand, like, yeah, their cast is currently lacking of female characters, so they need some female characters, but why not make one of the 4 dudes that you're rolling around with, like, all game?
Because it has to be Bromance Road Trip.
I mean, I guess so.
Yeah, also, like, 3 dudes and 1
Plot
female
twist, one of them is actually a girl.
That would be nice. I hope that that's
correct
true.
this whole time. I think that's a pretty good scenario.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be really surprising to come out of a Square Enix game.
I might actually play it.
Yeah. But also, like, the trailer I watched, they showed, like, you take over, like, you get out of the car, you walk around in this town. Oh, and there was a really bad graphical glitch for, like, one of the guys that was walking, so I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty damning if that's in your trailer. But, or maybe it wasn't a trailer, maybe it was, like, actual gameplay stuff I was watching, but either way, they go to this dog, and they take over the dog's mind, and then you just run around the city as a dog. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now?
That's what gamers want.
Like...
More dogs, please.
I like, it didn't seem like you were doing anything worth of note at all. You were just wandering the streets as a dog for whatever reason. Like, I don't know. How contrived can a story get to where you're mind-controlling dogs to run around? I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. I'm just not looking forward to it. I don't think I will be playing it, but I will be keeping up with it, you know?
You'll probably watch a Let's Play.
Maybe. I don't know. I tried to do that for 13 and I couldn't make it through. So, we'll see. But
the game I'm not looking forward to this year is whatever Assassin's Creed we're on. Like 7? I don't know.
Yeah.
See, when we were talking about games we disliked, I almost just picked a franchise and went with Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Rogue, I think is what it is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or maybe there's two coming out. There's one that's like a sequel to the Assassin's Creed Pirates.
Okay.
And then there's one that's coming out that's like in a new area. It's set in Victoria, London.
See, this is what I really hate about Assassin's Creed, is the last two games, the one with London and the one set during the French Revolution, are two really big eras that I love exploring as a gamer.
Well, that is one good thing about it, because you know it's going to be an accurate, like...
But I just hate the
representation.
So much.
Well, yeah, because like
want to play it.
The one you were talking about, in the Renaissance, that was like very, very accurate.
Oh yeah, the Unity, I think, is the one that takes place.
Yeah, it'd be nice. That game would have been nice if it wasn't such a broken piece of shit.
Yeah, like if it actually worked.
Yeah, like if you didn't have a fucking DMA on it until like the week after it comes out, so that everyone gets their pre-ordering in and buys this piece of shit that you've made that doesn't fucking work. Yeah, it's a big deal when you don't let reviewers review the game until after it's been out for a week.
Yeah.
Well, see, like, I don't know about you guys, but I was a huge fan of the first Assassin's Creed. Because you went to your guy, and he was like, this is the guy you need to kill. And then you went to that town, and you went all around the town and got all the information. You could get, like, little maps of the routes the guards took, and you could get all this information on your target. And every target you could take out without getting caught if you got all the information and pulled it off correctly. And that's what made the first game so good, because it was all about doing that, getting to your target without getting caught, and you had to get around and get all this information. But as soon as the second game came out, all that went out the window. That was not what the game was about anymore.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in the first Assassin's Creed, the mechanic of leaping from like a 10-story tall building and landing in a hay bale and walking out perfectly fine still existed.
Yeah.
It should.
It's a video game.
I don't care.
I
would rather... I find fighting a dragon and surviving more plausible.
My main problem with the first Assassin's Creed, and I guess probably the rest of the Assassin's Creeds, was the combat system. Yeah. I mean, it felt like you just stand there and counter.
Yeah, you parried, and that's pretty much it.
And people would say the same thing about Dark Souls, like all the best players in Dark Souls parry a bunch. Well, yeah, that's true, but parrying in Dark Souls is actually difficult and risky.
Yeah, it's high risk, high reward, absolutely.
Exactly, high risk, high reward. And in the Assassin's Creed, it felt like, and I think I've said this before about Assassin's Creed, like, the way that they would make quote-unquote difficulty is you'd fight more people at once. But to me, it was like you're only simulating difficulty, because instead of it actually being more difficult,
it's more tedious.
Yeah, all it actually means is it's more time for you to sit there and parry. And that's it. It just takes more time. So I don't like games that'll simulate difficulty by taking my time. Taking a lot of time to beat something by just pressing one button is just as difficult as taking 3 seconds to kill something by pressing one button.
Yeah.
The difficulty stays the same, it just takes more time.
Now, the second game wasn't that good, but the sequel to Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, that game was also bad, like story-wise, but the multiplayer in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood was some of the best multiplayer I've ever played, and I will give it that.
Nice. Yeah, actually, I watched a little bit of the multiplayer for that game. It seemed interesting.
It was, because it was very unique in that everybody blended into the crowd. Like you were the same people that are walking around the city, and you had one target, and you had to identify him as a player, not an AI, which can be difficult, and kill them without your hunter seeing you.
Yeah.
That was very, very fun.
Yeah, it reminded me of The Ship, I think is what that game is called, where it's very similar mechanics as far as you have to identify who is a player and kill the one that... All that's pretty much the same.
Was it the first one that, like, when you kill the target, you dipped a white feather in their blood? Mm-hmm. I hate that.
Well, that was just part of the thing. That's how they kept tabs on the people that they've killed.
How do you know that's the person's blood? I could have killed anyone. They didn't have blood testing technology back then.
Well, they know that's the person you killed because you're following the creed.
Nah. I don't have to. Because, like, you don't have to follow the creed in that game. You can run in there guns blazing and be successful, and that's not an Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, but you were killing somebody of high. I mean, you weren't killing like some Joe Blow guy. You were killing like.
The blood still looks the same.
Well, yeah, but they would know that he was still alive because he's still doing the corrupt thing
But, like,
that he's doing.
what if I killed him and then just cut a guy and used his blood because I didn't want to get close enough to a body because I just killed a super high-ranking official and all these people are around him now because he's dead. Because a lot of times you kill him in a room full of people. I don't have time to dip my feather in blood and then run back to a group and like, hey guys, look what I got.
Another thing I hate about Assassin's Creed was any part of the game where you're not in the Animus sucks.
Yeah, and see, when I first played Assassin's Creed, I was like, alright, this game's okay, and then I left that world, and I was the actual character, and I was like,
Yeah.
not doing this.
Anyway, what are you looking forward to, RJ?
The newest Dragon Ball Z game to come out, although it's called Dragon Ball Xenoverse.
Yeah.
I haven't done a whole lot of research on it. I've seen a little bit of gameplay, like, while standing in GameStop and stuff.
Right.
It just, like, at least from what I've saw at GameStop, it's gonna be like Dragon Ball Battle of Z, and that is one of the worst games I've ever played in my life.
Is it a fighter?
Yeah, I mean it's Dragon Ball Z. You know, it's a fighting game essentially, but Battle of Z. I played that game for probably 2.5 hours, and not a single time was I ever allowed to do a Kamehameha.
I think Dragon Ball Z should try and make another game besides like a straight like 1v1 fighter. Like they could make like a cool beat 'em up or something.
Yeah.
Or some kind of like open world thing, but it's always just like a like a combat sort of fighting game.
Let's see, Budokai 3 and Budokai Tenkaichi 2, I believe. You could open world and like fly to different cities and do like side stuff.
Okay.
You didn't actually have to follow the storyline always. Although the side stuff was extremely limited. It was usually like you could drop in and like you could talk to a guy and like you could buy items from people and stuff.
Right.
Was Budokai 3 on the PS2?
I believe so.
I think that's the only fighter that I've played. I remember it was one where you could fuse with another person, and I always got my ass kicked.
Yeah.
Well, I think that they've tried like the instead of it just being strictly a fighting game before, and that's never really worked.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
For sure. Although I don't think they'll ever get as bad as I think it was Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2 where you were game board pieces.
Yeah.
And you hopped around this little game board and like the enemies hopped towards you and stuff and I was like, this is not okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I know what that one is, but
yeah, one thing I always give the Dragon Ball Z video games is the ones that have Majin Buu in them. I hate the Buu saga with a passion when it comes to Dragon Ball Z.
right.
But you know how Majin Buu in his form that's like the skinnier, more powerful one that isn't the kid?
Yeah.
He absorbs people to become stronger.
Right.
In the video games, you can actually absorb more characters than he ever did in the game.
You mean in the show?
Yeah, in the show you can absorb more because in the show I believe he only really absorbed Gohan when he got all mystical and shit, and he absorbed Gotenks at one point, and then he absorbed Vegito, but that was for some reason Vegito's plan to get inside him and free everyone because reasons.
Yeah.
But in the video game you absorb like Tien and Yamcha at the same time and gain some cool abilities because for some reason in the video game Tien and Yamcha fused.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which was actually kind of cool. He was like one of my favorite fighters to use in that video game. But and yeah, you could absorb. Who was it? You could absorb Piccolo. You could absorb Cell, I believe.
Wow.
When you absorb Cell, Majin Buu got creepy, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he got creepy. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
But yeah, Xenoverse, I just. The past however many Dragon Ball Z games I've just not been a fan of, so I'm not expecting anything good out of this one either.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I kind of understand. Like, I've lost good faith in not BioWare. The hell is it? Ubisoft. You know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've lost all of my good faith for that company because they've been fucking over their fan base for too long.
Yeah.
And yeah, the same sentiment goes towards like whoever has the rights to the Dragon Ball Z games now. I don't even know what company that is, but like the releases, in my opinion, have been extremely lackluster. So
Yeah, I mean, ever since Tenkaichi 2, to me, has been the best Dragon Ball Z game
yeah,
out there. The combat was great and everything, and
yeah,
just overall, it looked really good. Especially for a PlayStation 2 game. I mean, that game looked amazing, and the fighting, like I said, was really great. It was very fun to control your character. You felt like a Saiyan or just like this really powerful fighter and stuff. So it was really nice. But yeah, Xenoverse, I just absolutely not expecting anything good.
right.
Which brings us to what?
Well, let's see. We still have anime, music, and retro
If we talk about the game
games.
you're not looking forward to there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked about Final Fantasy 15.
Oh, all right, okay, that was the first one. See, I can always just expect that to be a tangent at some point in time.
Yeah.
I didn't really think that was your pick. I thought that we were just going to talk about that game.
Right. No, that was my pick. I think we should save the retro game recommendation for the end.
Okay.
Okay.
So if we want to talk a little bit about music, I guess I can start us off. So the music that I'll be discussing this time around will be Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross. So everyone loves Chrono Trigger. This is almost a fact.
Yeah.
Like everyone in the gaming society, in the world of gaming, people love Chrono Trigger. And largely people dislike Chrono Cross. And I understand it, But I still maintain that Chrono Cross is a pretty decent game. And even more so than decent, Chrono Cross has an amazing soundtrack. Like, I've learned quite a few of Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger songs on guitar and piano. And, it's like, because I play a lot of video game music. It's just something that I like to do. But I think if I were to say any franchise that I've, out of every franchise of games, I've definitely learned more Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross music than any other franchise. And it's because it's so, it's orchestral, but it's really, dynamic, and, I don't know, it's great. Yeah.
It's definitely one of the things that when I first played both of those games, I really took notice of was the music. It's very prevalent in both of those video games, and always a really big fan of the arrangement on Chrono Cross is just incredible, and each time the music really kicks in, a scene, it's just the perfect set, for the scene. The first time, the main character changes worlds.
Oh yeah.
That whole scene, the music is so good, the cutscene is really awesome, it's just, overall, Chrono Cross really delivered on the visual and audio aspects of a video game.
Right.
I think, and the story is really awesome.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the story, and that's something that, gets some friction, because people feel like it was a story that was written, and then it was decided to turn into a sequel to Chrono Trigger. And in my opinion, that very well may have been what happened, but that's not exactly
a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily the developer's fault if the CEO of the company all of a sudden wants your game to be the sequel to Chrono Trigger. If you've already developed your game to the point where it's at, and then they're like, make this the sequel. Yeah, of course, when you throw in stuff for to make it a sequel, you're just gonna have to throw in shit into your story that you didn't want there in the first place. So, of course, there's gonna be a couple things that, doesn't necessarily quite fit. But I mean, so if that is the case that happened, I feel more bad for the developers, because then that what they had as a possibly great standalone title is now overshadowed and hated on,
Right.
Yeah.
One thing I did miss from Chrono Cross is the Dragon Ball Z art style.
Oh yeah.
That shit was awesome.
Yeah.
I definitely got a kick out of that. Although I really did like the art style for Chrono Cross as well. Just the Dragon Ball Z animations and Chrono Trigger just tickled my fanboy.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, the original Chrono Trigger didn't really have
Cutscenes.
Yeah, it didn't have any any CGI at all.
Yeah, although like the game characters themselves, like the guy who worked on Dragon Ball Z also worked on those, right? It wasn't just the
Right. Yeah, he made the character portraits and stuff.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I love.
Yeah.
You can tell Chrono looks like a little DBZ character.
Yeah, it does definitely.
It's pretty awesome. I've always really loved that about Chrono Trigger.
Oh, I guess I should mention that we may be pronouncing this wrong. It may be Chrono, and for anybody who hates that we say Chrono, sorry.
What were you guys saying?
Chrono.
Oh, I thought it was Chrono. I would say Chrono.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I've always said Chrono
you
since I
say
was...
chronological, and you say Chronos, the Titan.
The Titan, yeah.
So I don't think either. I don't think
Yeah, they're probably
incorrect.
both acceptable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the majority of the gaming world calls it Chrono Trigger, but I've always said Chrono since I was a kid, so I'm just gonna keep saying that.
Yeah, I mean that's and you were the person who introduced me to that game, so I also called it Chrono Trigger
Right. Yeah.
my whole life. So yeah.
So that's as much as I have to say about the music section for.
Wait, is our music segment supposed to be video game soundtracks or just music in general?
Music in general.
Just
Okay.
in general, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, sorry. Google heard me say okay.
Shut up, Google.
Well, the music I've been listening to a lot lately. I mean, I always listen to the front bottoms, and everybody hates on me for that. I have like one or two friends that enjoy the front bottoms as much as I do, and everybody else is like, "How do you listen to that garbage?"
I think they're definitely better than Chunk No Captain Chunk.
I'm not familiar with either of those.
Well, Chunk No Captain Chunk is a completely different genre. That's like, I don't even know what genre to put them in.
Shit. No offense to any
That was like
Chunk No Captain.
that was like a month-long kick that I went on there. Like, I kind of really don't listen to them
They're
much
just
anymore.
they're just so weird.
They are really
to me,
weird,
man.
and they're French.
Yeah. It's
Anyway, the front bottoms, they're kind of punky, but they're like, it's like a two-piece. It's just this guy with his acoustic and a drummer. I mean, the recorded music, they have other parts, but at the bass line, it's just them two. And all their lyrics, when you listen to them the first time, they sound like they're just about nothing. I mean, he'll say the craziest things. I can smell plastic burning. I can smell chemicals breaking down. Like, he'll just say the weirdest shit. But when you listen to their albums like 3 or 4 times, you start to pick out the metaphors, because the whole song's a huge metaphor. Every song's a giant metaphor, and eventually you'll pick it out, and then it just blows your mind, and then you can't stop listening to them.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, other than them, I don't know. I listen to old stuff. I don't have any new bands on the rise that I listen to. I listen to Weezer and anything from the 90s.
Yeah.
I listen to my own band. Can I plug my own band on this podcast?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, yeah. Go to SoundCloud and check out the guests. Hopefully Daniel will remember to put a link in the description.
Hopefully I will. I'll jot it down now.
That kind of. Am I also kind of? I'm kind of a part of it.
Yeah, you're kind of.
I'm kind of a part of it.
You're very recent. You're not in any of the recordings, but yes, you're now
yeah.
a part of the guests.
Yeah.
As of like a week ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, what about you, RJ?
I've actually been getting back into some bands that I used to listen to when I was a little bit younger. I've always loved like Irish and Scottish punk bands. So I've been listening to a lot of
Flog and Molly,
I've been listening to a
Dropkick
lot of
Murphys.
Flog and Molly, Dropkick Murphys. I don't know why. I just every now and then. Well, it's like I was drinking some Guinness at a friend's house, and I had like the insane urge to listen to Flog and Molly's Drunken Lullabies.
Yeah.
And I put it on, and just ever since that, I've been listening to just Flog and Molly's just constantly now.
Right on.
Yeah, and when I'm not listening to them, I usually like on my PSP that I use as a giant iPod. I have like The Doors, just like almost everything they've ever done on it, and of Monsters and Men. A lot of folk and old school, classic bluesy rock kind of stuff. That's that, and then the Irish punk music is what I've been listening to.
Yeah.
For like the past 2 weeks now. So
Yeah, I've just never been much of a punk fan. I don't know why. It's just never been my genre of music.
And don't listen to the Front Bottoms then.
Okay.
For me, like, a lot of punk bands have really good lyrics, and they talk about some really interesting and really, like, prevalent things in society.
Yeah.
You know, and since, you know, like, in the 60s, it was folk music that did that. And throughout the, like, late 80s and, like, late 90s, early 2000s, punk was kind of took up the mantle on that.
Yeah.
And that was really when I got into it, you know, and so that was one of the big things that drew me into punk. And, you know, also I was, you know, just kind of like a punk douchey teenager.
Yeah. Well.
Punk is such a big genre now, though. Punk used to just be like that raunchy, like
It was the Ramones.
Clash,
the
Ramones, Sex Pistols, yeah. But now like when you say punk to like a 16-year-old, they don't think about that sound,
They
like
think
the Clash
Blink-182.
sound. They think Blink-182 and Sum 41, and none of those bands are bad, but they're not punk.
They're not punk. They don't have the attitude of punk rock.
No, exactly.
Like No Effects.
Like I think the most recent band that I mean, I'm sure there's some like no-name punk bands out there that have that same sound and quality to them, but the biggest one I can think of that's recent is like Rancid.
Yeah,
Rancid still has that real raunchy.
No Effects does as
No
well.
Effects.
You check out No Effects or Pennywise. They're not quite as raunchy. Like the lead singer's not raunchy.
Mhm.
The music still is, but his vocals, he actually is a really good singer, and I love their lyrics too.
Like that's I think now who's taken over that sort of like society problems in society kind of sound.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's like hardcore. When I say hardcore, I don't mean like A Day to Remember or like Sleeping with Sirens. I mean like Turnstile, like the real. I don't even know how to put it. Like they're still punky. They're not like this crazy like blast beats and rah band, but
Yeah.
they're good. Check out Turnstile.
Right on.
Cool. I think I don't know. I just wish that like I liked the style more, like the punk style. I don't know, something about it just really turns me
Yeah,
on.
like I think the closest I've ever seen Daniel get to punk rock was Motorhead.
Oh yeah, I do like Motorhead.
Because Motorhead it was one of the pioneers of like music that punk derives from.
Yeah.
You know, the just fast assault kind of.
Yeah, but even like Motorhead, their music's more intelligent. I mean, a lot of punk rock is 3 chords, 3 minutes. I mean,
Lemmy, he's such a huge Beatles fan,
mm-hmm.
and he took a lot of the Beatles style of arranging music and put it into almost like a punk band.
I think that's what keeps a lot of people from punk is that the music itself is very simple. I mean, we could sit here right now and in 5 minutes write a whole punk song.
Yeah, that's a fact. Because we know 3 chords on a guitar. But, you know, although, like, if you should check out, Flogging Molly does a cover of Bob Dylan's Times That Are Changing,
mm-hmm.
and it's actually one of the best covers I've ever heard.
Interesting.
Yeah, for St. Patrick's Day a few years ago, one of the Sirius channels did a lot. They just hosted a live Flogging Molly concert that they were doing in, like, Boston.
Right.
And they just aired it. And, during the end of it, they did Times That Are Changing, and it was so good. It was so good. So.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, if we want to move on from music, we could talk about some anime.
I'm always down for that, man. Always down for that.
So what anime do you want?
I'm going to go ahead and say, to start with, I'm not going to have very much to put into this conversation, but I will be a part of it.
Okay. Do you not watch anime at all?
Not really.
I've slowly been getting him into it.
Yeah, I
got him to watch Cowboy Bebop.
And that is all I have to talk about is Cowboy Bebop and how obsessed with it I am.
Which is fine, because it's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, I mean, the anime
What's that one
community...
you told me about? I haven't watched it yet.
Trigun?
No, not Trigun. You just recently watched
Steins
it.
Gate?
Yeah,
Oh my
Steins
god, yeah, that's my pick for this week to talk about for anime, because Steins Gate just absolutely changed my fucking life.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet either, Dylan, but I'm planning on it pretty soon. Yeah. So if you guys want to start...
Fucking Steins Gate, just like... oh man, it just... The story is so out there, man, but it's like, it doesn't give you that sense of like super fantastical.
Right.
You
Just
know?
excuse me for like 2 seconds. My phone's ringing.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
But yeah, you know, it's like time travel, kind of,
Right.
in a weird way. But like I said, it never feels very fantastical, and the character development is so good. You get so attached to these characters, you know, and
I love
you know,
that. Yeah.
I know it's so good, man, and like it's like every character I just got attached to, every single one,
Right.
and that's pretty rare
Yeah.
for me in an anime or in anything in general. And I love just like the progression of the show, you know, like the first like 5 or 6 episodes, it was good and it was kind of wacky and really funny, you know, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then like the last like 15 to 20 seconds happened, and it was like, I have to watch the next one.
Right.
And then I watched like the first 6 or 7, and then I took like 2 or 3 days and didn't watch any, and I came back to it and I watched from 7 to the end in one day.
Yeah.
And when it ended, dude, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting in my house looking around and like, just why is nobody here right now?
Right.
Because I'm about to talk about this shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, Steins Gate, man. Oh man, it's based off of a video game.
Yeah. I heard. Yeah.
I don't know too much about the game because I watched Steins Gate and then I found out it was a video game because I was looking like, you know, if there's a Steins Gate movie or like, you know, OVA with extra content or something.
Right.
But yeah, based off a video game, and there is some other animes that are related to Steins Gate very loosely. Like they are from the same company,
Right.
and all the other 2 animes are also very odd,
Uh-huh.
like Steins Gate is. One is called Chaos Head,
Oh, right.
and I do not remember the name of the other one. It was something about robotics, though. But both of like all 3 of them are very conspiracy based,
Right.
and that's something like if it's done well, that shit gets my blood pumping.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, Steins Gate is definitely, any anime fans out there should check that anime out. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not looking for something super stylized, you know, like if you're not looking for another Black Butler or another, you know, Darker Than Black or something like that, you know.
Uh-huh.
If you're looking for a different style of anime, you know, you're not looking for the Dragon Ball Z's or the Bleaches or something like that, you know, I definitely recommend Steins Gate. That is a great anime.
So you're saying like it's outside of the shonen genre of anime?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's good
Absolutely.
because I've recently, even though the anime that I'm going to recommend is like it has shonen elements in it, but I've been growing old of like growing tired of all the shonen animes, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's like just a never-ending supply of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Never-ending.
I did want to ask about, because I remember where I first heard about Steins Gate from now, and it was this show I watch, not really a show, like a web show I watch about like anime and shit, and they had recommended the show because of its art style. Like it was supposed to be like very visually appealing. Is that-
Absolutely.
yeah, because I heard that it had like a really unique animation style to it.
It did, yeah. That's another thing I certainly picked up on. I mean, you know, as soon as the anime started,
Yeah,
you know, it was.
I love good animation. You know.
Yeah, it's funny because it seems kind of dark.
Yeah.
You know, like the art style itself, like even if there's really bright colors and shit, just the way the art has been done casts like this shadow on the anime.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is really good. I mean, it matches the anime so well.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just conspiracy based, and it's kind of a mind fuck at times,
Right.
but in like the best way possible. You know, like you'll be watching an episode and something will trigger that you saw like 4 or 5 episodes ago, and you were just like, no fucking way.
Right.
You know, I mean, it was. Oh my god, dude! It's like I get chills right now just thinking about it. I mean,
Yeah.
I've now watched that series all the way through at least 6 times.
Wow.
Yeah, because I mean, I just put it on and just watch it, man. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in checking it out.
Oh yeah, man. And what anime would you like to talk about there, Daniel?
Well, I'll be talking about Berserk, which to all you otakus and anime fans out there that are like, why did you just call this a shonen? Let me explain my rationale. Really, it's shonen in the sense of, wow, this main character is a complete badass, and that's really the only shonen element about it. The rest of it is straight seinen. And so anyone who doesn't know this, let me go over a little bit about it. It's like well, first let me say, my recommendation for if you have not seen this anime and are interested in checking it out is skip the first episode. And then just watch from episode 2 and on. And the reason being is I feel like the first episode is like a spoiler for the rest of the season. It's weird.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And now, whenever I was watching, fortunately, I forgot all of the shit that happened in the first episode, because I watched the first, like, 2 or 3, then I stopped watching for a while, and I got back into it, and just picked up from episode, like, 4 and on. And I completely forgot what happened in the first episode, and then I was really thankful that I did. So, and also, if you're going to read the manga, read from the start of the Golden Age arc. It is...
See, that's also animated, correct?
Yeah, well, the Golden Age is what is the anime, but there's also a movie called The Golden Age that is like a reworking of the anime, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, because on the anime site that I watched Berserk on,
Yeah.
I saw the Golden Age thing on there, and I was like, I'm going to have to check that out after I finish this, so...
Right. Well, now that I've said the little stuff about that, I should really go into... There's a lot of, like, triggers in this anime. Like, there's, like, if you are sensitive about certain material, this could trigger an episode for you. Such as, there is rape. There is extreme gore. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in this anime.
Yeah, it's not the prettiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
To watch. That's certainly true. And I didn't even make it through the whole thing yet.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like I think I'm 9 episodes in, and
yeah,
it's certainly one of the raunchier animes out there.
Also, the animation style, like, it's an old anime, so, like, and you can tell through the animation, but, like, I think it works really well for the show. Now, I should also talk about the correlation between Berserk and Dark Souls. Dark Souls, the creator of Dark Souls, I don't remember his name now, the guy who's, the creative mastermind behind the whole thing.
Yeah.
He took a lot of inspiration from Berserk and other animes, but mainly Berserk. And projected them into, like, the Dark Souls lore. Like, you can look at the Baldur set from Dark Souls. You can see that within the first, like, 2 episodes in Berserk.
Yeah.
There's also, like, the whole notion of the bonfire, I'm sure he got from Berserk because of one very monumental scene in the show. It was awesome. There's a lot of stuff, but you can definitely see, like, there's a whole... Like, the whole mood of Dark Souls seems to be borrowed from Berserk, or at least, like, drawn inspiration from,
Yeah.
And I like that a lot, because, like, in Dark Souls, you have, like, this solidarity, Like, and you're completely by yourself in Dark Souls. And then you find a couple people, they come and sit at that bonfire and stuff, but really, what do they do for you? They just sell you stuff. And then you move on with your adventure in a very, like, solemn, lonesome way. And that, I kind of feel like, at first doesn't seem the same as Berserk until you get into it. And then you start realizing, like, a lot of similarities between the main character and that sort of, like, experience,
Yeah, even when the main character of Berserk is surrounded by people, he's probably, like, the loneliest person.
Yeah, like, he's still, like, really detached. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
But in a very dynamic way, though, because it's like, I don't want to go into too much detail, because I don't want to spoil anything about the show. But I should probably just say like what the show is kind of about. So it follows this guy named Guts, and he was like part of so a mercenary band found him when he was a baby. He was just given birth to by his mother, who died giving birth to him, and he was just out in the battlefield. So they found him, they took him in, and trained him as a mercenary, kind of. I'm not going to go into too much detail about his past, but eventually he leaves that mercenary group and like starts going out on his own and being his own like mercenary person. And he was a really skilled fighter because he had been doing it since he was a child, you know. And he always wielded, like when he was a kid, he wielded swords that were for like adult men because like that's all they had around. They didn't have like toy swords or nothing for him to practice with. So upon becoming an adult, he used swords that were just like way bigger than most people could even pick up. It was ridiculous. But it makes him just, you know, a badass and all that sort of stuff. So if you want to see this guy kill a bunch of people and horribly, like gruesomely kill a lot of people, then check this out. It's cool.
Yeah, like the first dude he kills.
Yeah.
Was just like...
Yeah.
Sword to the face.
So, at what point should you watch the first episode?
After you've seen the rest of the episodes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you watch the whole season and then watch the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to say that the reason why I am recommending this anime is this anime got the biggest emotional response out of me from any other anime ever.
Interesting.
And the reason why I say that is like there was a scene that made me feel every single negative emotion that I could possibly feel, all at one time.
So it was like Requiem for a Dream in a single episode.
Yeah, kind of like that, yeah. But I mean, Requiem for a Dream didn't make me angry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just pure depression.
Yeah.
Soul-wrenching depression.
But this, like, I felt like such like everything. Like I was really sad for what was happening, but really angry and really like it was a really strange experience. And nothing like for something to be able to do that to me, you know, something went right with the story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they did something right. So
to be that involved.
Exactly, yeah.
In the story, yeah, is very impressive actually, and that's one of the reasons I want to keep watching Berserk so much because like I'm already pretty involved.
Right.
You know, only 9 or so episodes in, you know, I definitely feel like I'll be a part of the world.
Yeah.
And,
that's one thing though. Is like I really got attached to the characters.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, when an anime does that, when anything does that, I mean that's a instant win. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, very cool.
Yep. And the anime is not too long, so it's not like you're devoting too much time to it.
Yeah, it's only one season.
Yep.
I thought so.
Yep. So that's my anime recommendation.
Do you want to talk about Cowboy Bebop?
I mean, yeah, the only anime I have to recommend would be Cowboy Bebop. RJ got me to watch it probably like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And
You're welcome.
It was really good. I never really got into anime as a kid. That's mainly Dragon Ball Z's fault.
Oh yeah.
You came into the Boo Saga. I mean,
Wait, I'll just go ahead. All my friends at school watched Dragon Ball Z, and they're like, "This show's really cool. You need to watch it." So one day I came home and it was on. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna check this show out." And this big pink guy turned this other guy into a candy ball and ate him. And I was like, "This show is so dumb."
Yeah.
And I judged every anime like that for a very long time. I was like, animes are just stupid. I don't know what my friends are talking about. I'm just going to watch real TV, like, whatever. I do not have time for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But now I realize that that's not the case, and I took it upon myself to watch Cowboy Bebop, and it was actually really good. I mean, Spike
it's like the ultimate badass.
is probably, like, my favorite character of all time. Like, I just want to be him.
He's great. Yeah.
He's so cool.
And just like the idea of space cowboys is just so insane.
I know. I love that. I love that whole feel. You know,
Like,
that's
the whole feel of the show is just so, like, yeah, like, you just want to watch it just because it makes you feel so cool.
Shinichiro Watanabe, the director for that show, is just, just a mastermind, dude. I mean, he also does an anime called Samurai Champloo.
Mm-hmm.
And, Cowboy Bebop is the, like, Western style mixed with the futuristic stuff.
Yeah.
Samurai Champloo is, like, almost like hip-hop mixed with feudal Japan.
Yeah.
It's incredible, dude. It's amazing.
I have to check that out.
Such a great
It's
anime,
good.
dude.
It's good, yeah.
I love Samurai Champloo.
And, like, everybody on their ship, they're just, like, these broke guys that are just, like, looking for some money, and they just happen to be good bounty hunters.
Did you watch the English dubbed version of Bebop or the Japanese?
The English dubbed version.
The guy who does Spike's voice also does the voice of one of the main characters of Samurai Champloo.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, he does Mugen's voice.
What's his name again? The guy who does Spike's voice? He's really famous voice actor.
Oh, okay. I was not sure what his name was, but yeah, he does the voice of Mugen as well.
Yeah, so if anybody out there is into vigilantes or bounty hunters or space or cowboys,
yeah,
I would definitely check this out.
Yeah.
Or just feeling cool. If you like to feel cool, you should watch Cowboy Bebop.
It's like watching Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's Steve Bloom.
What's that?
That voice of Spike.
Oh, okay. So I've never really looked into it or anything, but
Yeah, it's Steve Bloom.
okay.
He does like a shit ton of stuff.
Oh yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Like I'm looking at like a full page of just like it's so much. It's a shit ton. Yeah.
I wonder if he does as much as Christopher Sabat.
I don't know.
Because I'm not sure if it's possible for one person to have that many voices twice in the same world.
Yeah.
It's just insane to me.
Alright, does that bring us to our last?
Well, yeah. Just I wanted to say a little bit more about Cowboy Bebop, actually.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of the reason why it was so popular was, one, it was really, really high quality storytelling, and the music fit very well. The animation was pretty good. It was pretty good animation. But a lot of the reason why it got popularized is because it reached to such a wider fan base than so many animes do. And the reason why I say that is because it has a very westernized feel. And when I say westernized, I don't mean like a western, but like western.
You mean like the USA?
What?
Like America in general, right?
Yeah, like a western culture.
Yeah.
It appealed to that a lot more than a large amount of animes. So, like, now it's like the favorite anime. Like, it's the number one on most anime lists, and for good reason, because it's a really good
rightfully
anime.
so,
But I feel like if there's any anime that is, like
appeals to all.
Do what?
That appeals to a very wide audience.
Yeah, like, I feel like Cowboy Bebop is the anime to watch if you're trying to get into anime.
That's the one, because I was totally not into it. I mean, it's very appealing.
Which is why I say your next one should be Trigun.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's similar to Bebop in the way that it's like, although this one's it's like Western, like Clint Eastwood style Western, but slightly futuristic as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, the main character, Vash the Stampede, is just amazing. Like, the story is incredible.
Yeah.
There's there's nothing really wrong with Trigun as a whole.
Right.
The music, it's just constant, just blues riffs that are just on a single instrument, and it's just insane.
Yeah, if I am a returning guest on this show, I'll definitely try and bring this noob anime story along with me as I venture into it.
You definitely should. Yeah, it's
yeah.
There's a lot of great ones out there, man.
Yeah. Okay, and then I guess that pretty much wraps up the anime. So, what kind of alcohol you guys been drinking recently?
I have been drinking Full Sail Black Lager.
Oh, interesting.
It's really good. It's really, really dark. It's so dark that it has some stout undertones.
What brand is it, did you say?
Full Sail.
Full Sail?
Session, yeah.
Huh.
And it is $5.50 a 6-pack.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
Wow, this says enjoy by 9/14/14.
Yeah, beer doesn't go bad. They come in though. They don't come in like the long, tall beer bottles that you're used to seeing. They come in these little, like the little short ones, that are big around.
Yeah.
And they're only 11 ounces, but I like them a lot.
That's like 1 ounce shy of a normal bottle.
I thought they were I thought normals were 16.
No, they're 12.
Okay, so yeah, you're only missing an ounce. So you get -4 ounces, and the whole 6-pack's only $5.50. It's pretty cheap. It's really good.
It's also 5.4% alcohol.
It's 5.4%, which is
pretty decent.
Yeah, it's decent.
Yeah, for a beer,
yeah.
But yeah, it's my new favorite cheap beer.
Nice. I'll have to try that because I do love like dark beer.
They also have a regular lager that's really good.
Cool. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I've been recently drinking this Cabernet Sauvignon by Robert Mondavi, the Woodbridge brand. It's like a let's see, $7.50 I think for the bottle. So it's not bad because like one bottle of wine will last me one night, but I'll get like really drunk off of one bottle of wine. So
yeah. Wine always just, I don't know, it messes me up so hard.
yeah, I mean I love the flavor of like a bitter red wine.
Yeah. So Cabernets, the Sauvignons,
yeah, Pinot Noir.
Yeah, Pinot Noir is really good.
But I am primarily a beer drinker, which is not the notion I just gave to all of the listeners. But I am primarily a beer drinker. I just happened to have picked up this wine recently.
Yeah.
And would like to recommend it because it was really good for its price.
Right on, yeah.
Yeah. If anyone...
Daniel, have you had Trader Joe's $2 Chuck?
I actually have never been to Trader Joe's, and I know where one is, like not that far from where I'm at.
They have really good cheap wine there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you should check. I mean, yeah, like $2.
Oh, wow.
And it's good. Like, you should check it out.
Interesting. That reminds me of this $3 bottle of vodka I bought at some point in time. It was really bad.
Was that the stuff we were drinking that one night that tastes like cough syrup?
Yeah, that's right.
I thought so.
Ugh.
It was so bad.
I'm pretty sure that was just codeine in a bottle.
Yeah.
No, I've had codeine. It does not taste like that.
But I mean, it was a whole bottle of vodka for $3, so.
How could you resist?
Exactly.
If you would have been there that night, we paid $6 for a half gallon of gin that was spelled J-I-N, and you might have reconsidered.
Yeah.
Because that was the
I don't think that's gin.
worst thing I've ever drank
That
in
might have
my
been rubbing
life.
alcohol.
Yeah.
Basically. Like, we mixed it with Sunny D and could still
And it was
taste
still bad?
Yeah, I mean, it was like, I had like half a shot per whole red solo cup of Sunny D, and I could still taste it.
Wow.
It was so gross, dude. And it was like, you know how you like drink, you get super drunk and trashy, and you wake up and you have a hangover?
Yeah.
Well, this was, you drank, and you skipped the getting drunk and trashy part and went straight to hangover.
Wow.
Like, you drank yourself to a hangover. It was so terrible. Like, it was just not fun. We literally poured out that, like, half of it. And it was just like,
Damn, that's insane.
Yeah, it was so bad, but we were all broke, and we wanted to get drunk. And, nightmares about that shit, dude.
Yeah. Well, what alcohol would you like to recommend?
I think I'm going to recommend, and I may be pronouncing this wrong, because I don't know
Right.
like language of the world very well, but I think it's called Cheval Regal,
Okay.
and it's a 12-year-old Scotch that is sold, and it's not super expensive. I think for the liter, it's roughly around $31,
Yeah.
and it's a damn good Scotch, very earthy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got like a really full flavor when you drink it, and it's absolutely delicious. Like I said, for $30, that's a really good price for Scotch.
Before I forget, Daniel, another reason you should go to Trader Joe's is because they sell that oatmeal stout.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. I am very interested in that.
Yeah,
I love that beer. That was
It's
such
like $3 a bottle, yeah.
Yeah, it's way cheaper than what we paid for it.
Oh yeah, but I mean we were at a tourist location, so
Yeah, it's like we paid like $8 a glass or something like
yeah.
that. Damn good beer though.
Yeah, it was.
Damn good beer. yeah, Cheval Regal it's a very good scotch. If anyone that is looking to get into scotch or happens to like scotch, but you don't like paying for scotch,
Yeah.
$31 for an entire liter is not bad for scotch. And
That's pretty good.
yeah, Cheval Regal is a damn good scotch. I like it a lot. I'm getting ready to go purchase a bottle of Lagavulin for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't wait. I'm overhyped about it, I'm sure, but I mean, for any Parks and Rec fans out there, it's what Ron Swanson drinks. So
yeah.
So like drinking that Kraken that Angela bought me has made me want to try other rums because I really liked it. What is white rum about?
White rum?
Is it any good?
It can be. It's usually sweeter.
Okay, maybe not.
And that's I mean, like you look at Captain Morgan's the Parrot Bay line
Yeah.
of white rum. It's just sugar and alcohol pretty much with like a hint of pineapple thrown in.
Yeah.
And it's white rum. I guess is usually sweeter. I don't know. I don't have too much. I'm not much of a clear liquor fan.
Yeah, I'm not either.
But
yeah, the only reason why I am interested in clear liquor is because it is better for your liver, and that would be good for me. But that's the only thing that's appealing about it to me.
But is it monumentally better?
What do you mean?
Like, how much better?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a nutritionist.
It can't be that much. I mean, it can't be that big of a deal. That's like saying, like, yeah, smoking light cigarettes, they're a little better.
Oh, no, I think it's a
tad.
I think it's a bigger difference than that, but
yeah, well, because I think clear liquor is processed so much better than dark liquor.
Yeah, probably.
and then there's also the fact that light cigarettes and full flavor cigarettes don't actually have any difference to them. It's all taste. That's it. There's nothing healthier about light cigarettes.
I read a study recently that light cigarettes were actually more unhealthy.
Because you have to pull on them so hard.
Yeah, because you pull them so hard, your lungs open up so much more, and then like the carcinogens in it infects a larger part of your lungs.
That makes sense.
With full flavor or menthol cigarettes.
Yeah.
Although, of course, menthol is still probably the worst for you.
Probably, yeah, because there's like, what, fiberglass and that shit.
Yeah. So how do you like your scotch, OJ?
Room temperature and a glass, no ice.
Yeah. You like it neat? Yeah.
Sometimes I use ice, depending on the scotch.
Right. Yeah, I usually drink it neat as well. I don't necessarily like, because some people like just mix it with water to cut the taste, and I don't know about that. I've never done that because it just seems like
scotch and plain water. I'd have a scotch and plain water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have had it before. Usually, like that's kind of what I do if I get ice. Is sometimes I'll let it melt a little bit.
Yeah.
Because like I said, depending on some scotches, I just kind of feel like it's necessary.
If it was the super strong scotch, I would probably water it down just so, not like water it down, but like add a little to it just so it lasts a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do that with whiskeys too. Like sometimes I'll drop some ice cubes in it, let them melt a little bit while I drink it.
Right.
It's like the whiskey's not of the highest quality.
Yeah.
Of course, if it's not of the highest quality, usually I'm just gonna be shooting it.
Right. Yeah.
But
you don't
if I
shoot
got
scotch.
Jack Daniel, I drink that shit neat.
Yeah. That's cool. I was just curious.
That night we were in Tallahassee. Me and Jesse were drinking that $1 tequila.
Oh Jesus!
That doesn't sound.
Dude, it was a cup of tequila.
Yeah, he was like, "How much is a shot of tequila?" And she was like, $1. And he's like, "All right, I'm in." This girl pours him a solo cup of tequila. Like that was not a shot.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a good decision to me.
Well, it was like really cheap house tequila.
Yeah.
It was their brand.
Was it utterly terrible?
It wasn't bad.
Actually, no, it wasn't bad. And like mine, I even got her to add like a wedge of lemon and a wedge of lime into mine.
Oh, cool.
And it was actually pretty
It was good. Yeah,
I was like,
good.
it's surprising, man. I was DD that night though, so I only had like half of a drink.
Right.
Yeah, then Jesse couldn't have spent more than like $5 at that bar, and the bitch charged my card because Jesse's card didn't go through, so I was like, here, just use mine because I had like this charge card at another bank, and it's not like a debit card. Like you can only use the money that's on the card, and that's it.
Right.
It's like a refillable.
And there was only like $40 on it, so I was like, well, they can't charge me too much. And she charged the card like $30.
Wow. Huh. Well, that's cool. Yeah. I guess though from here, all we have left is the retro game recommendation.
Right.
All right, well, damn it, Google, stop doing that. The retro game that I'm going to recommend was my childhood favorite on the PS1, which is Twisted Metal 4.
Oh, okay.
I almost played as much Twisted Metal 4
You just threw me for a loop there, dude.
as I played. What?
You threw me for a loop.
What do you think I was going
When
to say?
you're like my favorite game as a child from the PlayStation 1, I thought you were going FF4.
Oh, no, I didn't play that as a child.
Oh, okay.
I played that like when I was like 17.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, Twisted Metal 4, I remember my friend Steve had that game, and I went over to his house, and we would just play that game and play that game. This was before we got into Battlefront. And it had co-op, which was cool, and it also had like a PvP or whatever. We didn't really play that too much. But it was so difficult, because there was probably like 8 or 9 stages throughout this game, and you had 3 lives for the whole game.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
And it probably took us about 2.5 years to beat that game.
Jeez.
Like, with no cheat codes. Like, it was absolutely relentless. But it was... The Twisted Metal series now isn't as good. The last Twisted Metal game that was good that came out was probably Black on the PS2. The new one's on the PS3.
Black was good.
Yeah, Black was really good. But just those vehicular shoot-'em-ups, I love them. Like,
Yeah.
I'll always go back to those for, like, just fun multiplayer shenanigans.
There was one on the N64 that was really fucking fun, too. I don't remember what it was called. I don't think I ever owned it, but
Yeah,
that was the first one I ever played with that style.
me too. Or at least the first one I played from the Twisted Metal genre. Or franchise. I mean...
Was on N64?
Yeah, it was on N64.
Okay, that might actually be it then.
I
I wasn't sure if it was Twisted Metal or not.
think
Yeah,
so.
but that's definitely my recommendation.
Or maybe it was PS1, I don't know. I remember playing it with, I don't remember their names now. They were like a couple of twins. Yeah, James and Jonathan Owens, that's right.
Oh, I was thinking Casey and Carson?
No. Yeah, I played it with them sometime or another.
I don't know.
Yeah. But, I think that pretty much wraps up. Wait a minute, no, we haven't heard from...
You guys have to go.
Well, it's only going to be one of us per podcast. We're going to run out of retro games eventually.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's just my, okay, that was just me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
Well, I was gonna say RJ.
I was trying to be short in the interest of time.
Oh, well, no, I thought it was going to be like the guest would have one and one of the hosts.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, so should I do mine then?
Yeah.
Okay, my retro recommendation is the very first turn-based RPG video game I ever played in my life. Got me into that style of game, and it was produced by Sony Computer Entertainment America, Legend of Dragoon.
Yeah.
Just an absolute fucking life-changing experience for me, man.
Yeah.
Playing that game for the first time. And I remember my parents had like these friends, and we all went over to their house one time, and their son was playing it. And I was just like, what the fuck is this? You know, like,
Right.
you can do this in video games? Like, you can stand there and then get hit and then hit other people?
Yeah.
You know? And I'm just like, no way, you know? So I went out and I got the game and just spent a quarter of my life playing it, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
and like, there's just not enough good things I can say about the game, you know? I mean, like, the combat system was so innovative for a turn-based RPG.
Yeah.
You know, the whole, you actually had to do things during combat.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just insanely fun. It's one of the earlier games to have voice acting in it, and the voice acting was really well done. It's good voice acting.
Yeah, you know, it was pretty decent, and especially for its time, it was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's one of the things I always loved about it. You know, they cut the cinematics in it, you know, was really well done as well. You know, the opening when, you know, it's like talking about what's going on in the world and stuff, and it goes to like the main character's hometown village. It's being ransacked by people, and it's like the flames are everywhere and people are getting hit by arrows. It's just like you just get thrust into this environment, and it's just amazing, and the story is just so deep. Like, and not deep as in like philosophical or something. There's just a lot of depth to the story. Yeah. Which is really good. And, I became involved just so hardcore in the story, and the characters are all really well done and everything. I absolutely, like I said, it got me into turn-based RPGs as video games. And I just always I always look back on it as just like my fondest memory. It's one of my favorite games of all time to this day. Yeah. So I just absolutely love Legend of Dragoon. So good.
Yeah, I think that the mechanics of the game worked really well for what it was. Like, because you had, your normal combat of attacking and then having like that almost like an early what's the word for it? Quick time event. It's kind of like every attack was a very simple quick time event. Yeah. But it worked for the game really well. And also there was the turning into the Dragoon and having that different form, and then having a different combat mechanic.
Yeah. I mean,
it was cool.
Yeah, it was so good. I mean, like as you progress through the game, gaining the Dragoon abilities and stuff, the combat mechanics just changed. Yeah. Over time, where they became more diverse, and then you started fighting enemies who also had the Dragoon mechanic and stuff, and it was just always just, awesome. And, there's, I think 7 different characters. Yeah. That you can swap out in your party. Your party always consists of 3, and one of them has to be the main character. Right. So you swap out the other 2, and just like each one had just like such a unique set. Yeah. And I always really loved it. I've beaten the game with every possible combination you can have, and well, actually no, I haven't. I've never actually beaten Legend. Oh yeah. Melbu From is such a dick. Okay. The final boss is just such a dick. Yeah. And it's like a similar experience to Champions of Norath or like Diablo or something. I get really far into the game and like, oh man, I'd love to do a character like this, and then I just restart. So after Melbu From, I kicked my ass for like a year and a half. Because I played this game the first time I was like 10 or 11 years old. Mm-hmm. I was pretty young, so getting that far out felt great.
Dude, we need to do a Let's Play of Champions of Norath. Dude, we can plug it up here. I could get some screen capture on my screen here. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I own it.
Yeah, I know.
I own both of them.
So let's do that. Let's make that a thing.
Yeah, we definitely can.
Let's build an empire, guys, of podcasts and Let's Plays.
Yeah, I'm down.
Of retro games.
Yeah, I absolutely love Champions of Norath. That shit is so fun. But yeah, I mean, Dragoon. Yeah. It's so good. I mean, I wrote a walkthrough with my cousin when I was like 15 years old. Yeah. It was just like I've just done everything in the game except kill the final boss.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with Final Fantasy IV. And
God!
I made it to the end, and then accidentally erased my save data. And I was like, I can't. Like, it took me so long. This game requires so much more grinding than any other Final Fantasy game I've ever played. Yeah. So I was
the first time I played that game, I got stuck on the Leviathan and then restarted later. The time I actually beat it wasn't the original game; it was the remake on the DS.
Oh yeah.
It was the same difficulty though.
Right. Right. Yeah, man, it was a great game. I just, like, after losing that save data, I couldn't bring myself to actually play it again.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, to go through something like that again.
Yeah.
Especially for a game like Final Fantasy IV, Uh-huh. Like, imagine Dark Souls, the first time you ever got to win, if all of a sudden you're just like, Xbox crashed.
Yeah.
And start from the beginning.
That would be a disaster.
Yeah, absolute. The rage is real.
Yeah.
Alright, looks like we're about like in an hour and a half.
Yeah, we're actually at 1 hour 59 minutes.
Okay. Wow. 2
Yeah.
hours.
So that may be shortened whenever I cut out the beginning stuff. But anyway, it looks like that's everything we need to go through. And so let me just replug my channel real quick. Well, this will be going up on yet another gaming channel. So just go into those videos and check out my Let's Play if you're interested in Final Fantasy Tactics. Please remember to like if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. You know, subscribe to the channel if you want.
If you like it, and follow us.
Yeah, follow us. You know, subscribe to the channel if you want your, you know, the podcast plus my Let's Plays directly to your feed. And I will be putting up the audio file hopefully in the description, and I'll be linking the band, the guests, as well. Which,
The guest, not plural.
Oh, the guest. Damn it. Okay. Yeah. So, I'll be linking that, and hopefully all of that will turn out pretty good. Okay, and I guess that's it. Thanks for coming on to the podcast.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. I can't wait to do the next time.
Yeah,
I can't wait to be a guest again.
Definitely fun.
Yeah. If you guys are wanting to, so you guys, well, let me go ahead and stop this recording.